Hey friends, I sound like a bullfrog today, but I did not want to cancel this interview with my friend Kathi Lipp because you need to know everything she's going to tell you as we enter into the holiday hustle. I see you all. I see you scrolling and buying on what is that Monday, crazy Monday on Amazon. I did it too. I got 15 grandkids. Trust me, I have spent more than I should have. But I wanted us to just slow down because this holiday season does not have to be a burden. This can be such a joy. And Kathi is going to share with us so many insights. So she has a new book out, and it is called Sabbath Soup. And she's going to talk to us. The subtitle is Sabbath Soup, Weekly Menus and Rhythms to Make Space for a Day of Rest. Perfect for your busy back to school and holiday season, or for those that are looking to establish new year, new you style changes in January. Love that. Sabbath Soup is your guide and mine to establishing a weekly rhythm and routine of meal planning and prep that allows you to experience, get this, the peace that comes with a full day dedicated to spending time with God, family, and friends. Kathi is a Publishers Weekly bestselling author of 20 books, including The Accidental Homesteader, which she and I have lived the same life, Clutter-free, which she's clutter-free. I am the keeper of all things special. Ask my grandkids who wore their mom's cheerleading uniform for Halloween this year. And The Husband Project was a super great resource. Kathi has had articles published in national media, including Women's World, as part of their Ask the Experts feature, Today's Christian Woman, Proverbs 31 Ministries, and crosswalk.com. I write for Crosswalk also, Discipleship Journal, and many others. Kathi is a busy conference and retreat speaker. If you want her, reach out now. If you want her for your spring event, now's the time to find Kathi and see if she has time on her schedule. She currently speaks to thousands each year throughout the United States. Kathi and her husband, Roger, love Roger, learn tons from Roger. They live in California, so do we. And they are the parents of 4 young adults. And I feel like I need to say, you're the dog mom of Moose, who she is your...
She's right behind me, acting crazy. I'm so sorry, but I know you get it, Rhonda.
I get it.
I know you get it. Yes.
I have 5 dogs and I raise golden retriever puppies. I am the weird dog lady. I get it. But I am just so happy that you made the time in your busy December schedule to just help my listeners take a breath. Right?
Yes, Rhonda. Okay, first of all, I would always make time for you. That's not even a question. And 2, you're the cutest frog I've ever heard. And you have accommodated me so much because, as your listeners wouldn't know, of course, Moose is going through, she's in remission from cancer, and we've had to move things around for appointments and stuff. And I know you get it. And when you said anything for Moose, that means anything for you. So thank you so much for having me here today. I've been looking forward to it. It's been a busy day, but I've been looking forward to this all day.
I'm so excited. Me too. And you know what I would love to do before we jump into this is just tell us a little bit about yourself, your life, your marriage to Roger. I feel like a lot of times people see an accomplished author and speaker and they go, oh, they were raised in a Christian home. Her dad was probably a preacher and she has, the perfect marriage, 2.5 children. And now she lives in the country living happily ever after.
Yes. Okay. So the only thing that's even close to any of that is I have a really great marriage, but it is my second time around, and Roger and I are a blended family. And so there are 4 kids, 2 his, 2 mine. But yeah, we live, I grew up in a home that, for the first half of my growing up time, we didn't go to church. Second half, we did go to church. That was not a great experience. My youth pastor was selling drugs to the kids. I'm not even kidding. And yeah, there was all sorts of drama in that church. But then I started going to church with a friend and a different church, and have been a part of, a Christian. We created our Christian family. So that's what I'll say. And, my mom has gone back to church now for the past 10 years. So God brings everybody home. Right. And
Right.
so, but definitely not raised by a pastor. I wrote the book Clutter Free. My dad was a hoarder. Um, Everybody in my family is somewhere on the ADHD autism scale somewhere. And, I'm a dyslexic. So I'm sorry. My dog is just going crazy.
I love him. That's Moose, everybody. Pray
That
for
is
Moose.
Moose. Moose, you are embarrassing the family, friend.
She's like,
So out of here. So I'm pretty severely dyslexic. So I really was a speaker. And then somebody said, well, if you're a speaker, you need to be a writer. And so I started writing books, and and those are the people I'm drawn to. I'm not drawn to the natural writers. I'm drawn to the speakers. Those are my people. And so I do love writers who write, but I also love speakers who write.
yeah, right. I met my Harvest House editor, and I'm like, dude, I dangle my participles, I run on my sentences. You don't want me. And he's like, we want you. We'll teach you. And they did.
Yeah,
They really did. And his
they're
job was really
amazing.
hard.
Was your editor Nick?
Steve Miller.
Steve Miller. Steve's wonderful too.
I love
Yes.
him. I just saw
Yes.
Nick at Harvest House's 50th anniversary.
They're
And
big party.
I went to Mount Herman's Writers Conference. It's the first one I've ever attended, and Nick was at my table, so I met him. Got to have
Oh,
a
that's
really good time.
amazing. Nick is
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
But there's encouragement here for people who want to be a speaker or a writer, because I know
Yes.
you get a lot of people asking those kind of questions. I do too. If the
Mhm.
Lord has that for you,
Yeah.
you seek him, you ask
Yeah.
him. I remember saying, Lord, I'm not knocking on any doors. Here's my arm. Drag me through an open door, but I'm not knocking. And when he did, I cried and said, I don't want
Mm.
to.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
And I did knock on doors, but by going to a retreat, a conference, and
Uh-huh.
that's where I met, my editor, and started to piece all of that together. And it was word of mouth that I got my first agent and all of that kind of stuff. But it's you just have to be a shower upper. It's showing up and saying, okay, I don't know what 10 steps down the road look, but
Yeah.
let me take the next most logical, faith-filled step.
Yeah.
We'll do that, and then we'll go from there. And there's no reason I should have been a writer. Like, I'm really glad my first book did well, because I don't know that I had the tenacity to keep going if it had been a miserable failure. But
The Lord
some of
knew.
my favorite writers are the ones where the first, the second, the third book didn't do well, and they just kept showing up. And I admire that greatly.
And let's just put a plug for your Red House Writers Collective, because I learned
Oh,
so much. You're going to start a new one in January, I'm assuming.
yeah, we it's now just a continuous program, so you can show up at any point.
Okay.
But if somebody's interested, comment here, because it's going on sale here pretty soon. So we would love to connect you up. But yeah, that's where we teach about all the things you need to be a writer, including, it's the creativity, building your platform, serving your audience, all of that.
And that's why I have a podcast. I always knew I wanted to do it, but it scared me. And I remember just, okay, I'm going to follow all the things you laid out. Not to mention, Roger is expert when it comes to business planning and having I have an LLC. There's a lot involved that I didn't know anything about. So I know we're talking all about that. So we'll stop now, because we could talk all day about that.
We
and that's
absolutely
a
could.
whole group of my audience that you know who you are. So go find Kathi Lipp. Red House Writers Collective. I'll put the link in the show notes. But let's jump in to Sabbath Soup. The first question I'm going to ask you is, what was the inspiration for this book?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I love TikTok. I know that makes people are like, well, TikTok's for young people. It's also for old ladies. Thank you very much.
Because old ladies know stuff.
Yes, old ladies know stuff. And I learned from old ladies on TikTok. And it was interesting. There was a woman on there who is Jewish lineage, who showed what she cooked for Shabbat every week. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll show what I cooked for our Sabbath. And people were really interested. And even within Christian communities, it was really interesting that a lot of people, Sabbath is, we know it's a gift. But a lot of people have still avoided it. Like, okay, that's for the super religious. That's not for me. And I'm like, okay, I'm not the super religious, but I have come to figure out if I don't have a day to reset every week or most weeks, let's be really honest here, most weeks, that I am not a good human being. I'm not a nice wife. I'm not a nice mother. I'm not a nice friend. I'm not great at the whole business thing when I haven't had a break. And so, but if you're trying to cook food and have a break, those two things do not go together. So this is really where we just decided what we're doing is we cook ahead, and and then from Saturday night to Sunday afternoon, we are just putting things in the oven. We're just reheating. We're putting a pot on the stove. We're not doing our heavy lifting when it comes to cooking on Sunday. And it's just given us that real opportunity to pull back, take a rest that we desperately need.
I love that. And here's a ton of my listeners are homeschool moms. So how would they involve their kids in this? Like teaching your kids life isn't just go 135 miles an hour with your hair on fire all day, every day.
Yeah.
And teaching them to chop those vegetables, right? I mean, and
Right.
I'm preaching to myself. I didn't let my kids help in the kitchen because I was like, no, I'll do it. Go. And now my kids are the best cooks ever because they figured it out and their kids help them. It's amazing.
That's amazing.
But right?
But, here's the thing I would say. There are a couple of things about having your kids help. One, realizing there's an upfront cost to it, but it's worth it. The upfront cost is in time. It's, because it takes longer to teach somebody and be repetitive on those things. A little bit of money because you want to have knives that are safe for your kids. Right. You want to have things that fit their hands. So it takes a little bit of that energy because you have to go in with a plan, but that helps you in the long run. But also it's been very interesting to talk with people who say that their kids are very critical of what they cook. You've had a long day at school and you come in and this is what you see and it's a slow cooker. And it's like, and it was very funny because somebody posted that and, he was like 17 and all these 20, 25-year-olds coming in, there's like, that's the best thing that's ever happened to you. In 5 years, you're not going to know how much you appreciate that bowl of brown stuff. But when you have picky eaters I don't want to just say picky. There are some kids who have real issues with how things feel in their mouth or new taste. We have to remember kids have millions more taste buds than we do. So as we get older, we can accept new tastes, but kids, it's like bam in their mouths. So letting kids help with the meal planning and saying, if you have 4 kids, everybody, picks one meal that's going to happen during the week, whether it's lunch or dinner, and they can help prep that meal and do all of that kind of stuff. But especially for kids who struggle with sitting down to eat what the rest of the family is eating, to have input in that. And then that can also lean into budgeting. If you want to have grilled cheese and a side salad, how much is that going to cost? How much are the ingredients going to cost? And so letting everybody be a part of that is really an interesting way. It's going to take some time up front, but it's going to pay off in dividends.
Yeah, I like that. And honestly, one of the things that my daughter, she has 4 daughters. My 8-year-old granddaughter makes the most amazing crepes. Like literally, I'm all like, don't burn yourself. And she's like, Mom, she's got it.
Right.
But what I love is she's taught them when they're served something that they don't like, is they don't say, I don't like that. They say, I don't prefer that. That just really is less hurtful.
Yes.
I don't prefer that.
And, I didn't learn until later to say, I just ask that you try everything because I grew up knowing I hated mushrooms and now I can't get enough of them. Taste change, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do know that I will continue to hate green peppers until Jesus comes back.
I'm with you there, girl. I'm with you there.
There's just a taste there. I think at 57, I'm allowed to say, no, thank you. I don't prefer those and I will not be eating those.
Don't put it on
But
my
yeah,
pizza.
right. Oh yeah, we order our pizzas half down the middle. Yes, because so
That's fun.
yeah, but to be able to say, try it, and we don't force anybody to eat anything around here. But even with as my kids were growing up, where the carrots are. You know how to make your own salad. We don't care that you eat what we're eating, but it needs to be healthy. There
Right.
has to, we also like sweets. That's okay, but there
Yeah.
has to be something healthy that you're doing, and you have to try everything.
I like that. So as you said in the book, why soup? Why not Sabbath casserole or Sabbath barbecue?
Yeah, I find soup to be kind of a magical property. You can make that soup on Friday, and it tastes better on Sunday.
That's true.
Uh, and also, a soup is a great fridge cleaner outer. Like, if you have well, I'll just do an example. So after Thanksgiving, we did our Thanksgiving late. Um, we had leftover turkey, we had leftover celery, we had lots of chopped onions. We had a bunch of different stuff. And so we ended up making a turkey gumbo, which is not in the book because I'd never made it before, but I thought, let's try something different. We made a turkey gumbo. Roger said, can this be our annual tradition?
Oh, wow. So we need that recipe. How are we going to get it from
Okay,
you?
I will send you that recipe. Yes, I can
All
do
right.
that. And it
We'll
was
have them sign
so
up for something. We'll sign up for your newsletter and then we'll send them that. How's that?
that would be great. I would
I
love it. This was so good. And some of you, even if you just have chicken, frozen chicken, or maybe you have some frozen turkey sitting around, you guys, the only special ingredient really was andouille sausage. And you could probably do a difference, but it's a great way to clean out your fridge with, the vegetables that aren't as crisp as you'd want to put them in dip.
Yeah.
Or, you have leftover chicken from Saturday night. Let's put that in a soup for Sunday. And I love it because it can stretch. So one of the things that we do is we have a neighbor. He's either in his late 60s or early 70s. I'm not quite sure, but he's also a volunteer firefighter. So he's like uh, hiking down ravines to get people out of car crashes. He just did this on Friday. By the way, a total side note, he was on the national news. This rescue was on the national news because he hiked down there, rescued the guy. When they went back to go get the car, they heard whining. There was a dog that had
Oh,
been encapsulated in the car, came out unscathed.
wow.
Unscathed. It's a miracle. It's a
Yeah.
miracle. But yeah, so he's doing stuff like that. But when I found out that his 3 meals a day were 3 Lunchables, I'm like,
Oh,
oh, I said, here's the good news. I have learned to cook for a crew, and I cannot lose that skill. So now every weekend we bring him a cooler full of food.
oh,
And
that's so wonderful.
it's so easy by the way, he saved our house from burning down during Caldor. So I feel like it's an
Wow.
even trade, right?
Yeah,
But
right.
I'm like, there's no reason for you to be eating Lunchables. And even soup is the most stretchable food. You can add a little more cream, a little bit more broth, a few more vegetables, a few more. There's no reason anybody has to be hungry because of soup, because we've all read the story of stone soup, right? And it's just adding a little bit more, making it special. And soup is that ultimately stretchable meal.
So for me, my husband has taken over my kitchen. He does all the cooking now.
Oh,
I'm not
nice.
complaining. I'm super happy,
Nice.
but I'm not a great cook. I'm a great baker. I love to bake because I love
Oh, okay.
sweets.
Yeah.
The real food is like, just eat a cheese stick and let's have the cheesecake. I mean,
Right. Right. I get that.
so if you're not a cook like me,
Yeah.
I have my specifics that I do, but
Sure.
how can your book help with
Oh,
those recipes? Talk to us
yeah.
about
So my recipes are very basic. I'm not asking you to do anything fancy in those.
that. Some
And if
random spice that you don't have in your cupboard.
you know what? There may be a couple of things that are like, okay, we're going to extend our palette, but it's 99% of this stuff is on everybody's grocery list. I did ask somebody to get ranch beans, and I found out that those are not available widely. But there are lots of places you can get them, and there are ways to substitute. If you just Google, I don't have ranch beans, what can I substitute?
Oh, cool.
You'll find out.
Don't call your mom. Google.
If your mom knows, that's great. Yes. But these are very basic, simple. And here's the thing. I find nothing wrong with saying, Monday through Sunday, we're going to eat the same recipes until somebody calls uncle. Yeah. And then we're going to replace one of them with a new recipe. Yeah. So do your favorites and then add in something that you haven't tried before. But soup is the most basic recipe. You can't mess up soup. The only way you could really mess up soup is by leaving it on the burner too long or overcooking a cream soup. Yeah. Otherwise, it's pretty fixable. If you oversalt it, you can throw half a potato in there and it absorbs the salt.
Did not know that.
Did not know that. Or add more cream or water, not more broth, because broth has salt, but put more vegetables in it. Soup is so fixable.
And honestly, I'm all about hospitality. When we moved to Texas, we lived there for 6 years, and we had 200 teenagers in our house every Wednesday night for youth group. They trashed our house in Jesus' name. But my mantra is this: people over possessions. And sometimes we get so hung up on, my house is not HGTV perfect. My meal is not a Pinterest, post. Right. But sometimes it's just seeing a family that maybe just is visiting the church. Maybe if they've come a couple times. Honestly, I'm a pastor's wife. You get maybe 3 Sundays of someone visiting your church, and if they don't feel a connection, they're not coming back.
Yeah.
Your church is your home. If it's your home church, it's your family. And for you to not look someone in the eye, shake their hand, welcome them because you feel uncomfortable, that's not right. This is a call to hospitality. And for some, it's going to be, hey, I already put some soup on in the crock pot. You and your family of 5 children, come on, I'll just throw in some more potatoes or whatever. That to me, hospitality is something that is so overlooked in our Christian culture. We'll go out to eat with people. We'll go to restaurants with people. Well, guess what? My kids have lots of kids. You take your kids out to Denny's, and it's a small fortune these days. Yeah. So having the wherewithal to say, it's not much, but I got some soup on, I'll throw some French toast, or what's it called? French bread in, and we're good. Yeah. How cool is that?
Well, and that's the beautiful thing. Soup can go from, it's the 4 of us going home, so everybody has a bowl of soup, to, we've got guests. Okay, honey, swing by the store, pick up 2 bag salads. I've got some brownie mix at home that I'm going to throw some extra chocolate chips into, and it can go to cups of soup instead of bowls. And like you said, the bread, it's interesting, at Costco, they have in the bakery section, they have loaves of bread that are shelf stable for like 6 months. And so I've got 2 of those at my house right now. So we don't have a lot of drop-bys because we live, about an hour and 15 minutes from civilization. But we do have neighbors, and we have neighbors who sometimes need a meal, and we can just pop that in the oven and we're good to go. And it makes such a huge difference. And yes, to be able to, and soup is to always be able to say, I made some extra soup. Can you come over? Or I made too much soup. Can I bring you some? Yeah. Even if you don't feel hospitable coming into your house, you could be hospitable by bringing somebody something when they most need it.
And in Jesus' name, like honestly, a cup of water in Jesus' name is great. But if you bring a cup of soup in Jesus' name.
Amen. And for those homeschooling moms who are listening, this is such an opportunity to be able to say, okay, guys, we're going to rally together. And so we've got the soup, somebody else can put the cookies on a plate. Like there are always things, even the smallest child can do to help out with this.
Yeah.
So bringing it together, and could that be a core memory of that we were always able to have people over?
Love that. And that's honestly what we really want. So I would really love for you to maybe give us, let's see, let's include your expertise as a clutter wrangler. What are a few key
Okay.
tips that you can give to families that want to declutter, not perfection? I mean, you
Right.
watched me declutter when we had the fires at our house, right? It's like our
Yes.
house smelled like fire, and I was throwing stuff out the window that I have had since my kids were little, and it was hard. But
Yeah.
I got encouragement from you. But honestly, it's not, we feel like our house has to be so perfect, but
Hmm.
honestly, sometimes it's just the clutter. I watch those remodel shows and I'm like, what is so special about their houses? Their kitchen counter is not cluttered with all the
Right.
things. So
Right.
some tips on
So
that.
so here's a couple of thoughts. If it's one of those drive-bys after church, just get a laundry basket and the kitchen table, the kitchen counter, just have one room that feels comfortable, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be your whole house. Oftentimes we'll say, okay, we're going to go declutter, and we think about grandma's photo books. Like, no, leave that stuff alone. Go to the high traffic areas. And then also realize people are not looking at your house the same way you're looking at your house.
That's
You
true.
know, they don't know what perfection looks like at your house. And just putting the magazines out on a table, just fluffing the couches and throwing a couple, putting the blanket over there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but also to be able to have somebody come in. If you invite me in the midst of a little bit of your mess, I feel loved. And
Yes.
it's one of the things that can make me feel like, oh, that pastor's wife isn't so scary. Like, there are shoes by her front door too.
Yeah.
Or, she's got so many pictures on her refrigerator,
The
it takes,
best.
yes, exactly. It's, we want to be invited in, not just to the front porch, but to the insides, and to that's when that's when we start to be friends, is
Connection.
when we're invited.
And it's interesting. My mom was a 17-year-old mom. I was her second child.
Wow.
Her parents were both alcoholics. They were the fun alcoholic grandparents, but
Yeah.
what my mom could control was her home,
Mm,
and it
right.
was perfect. Like, I didn't invite friends over because everything was so put away and perfect that it stressed her out. My mom's gone to be with Jesus now. She came to Christ 6
Yes.
months before she
Yeah.
passed away.
We
Praise the
can't.
Lord. But I remember not wanting my friends to come over because it was too much for her to have. My friend's little sister was with her, a 5-year-old. She put her gum
Mhm.
in my mom's candle, and the next time I invited her over, my mom said, "No, she can't come over. She put gum in my candle." And I'm like, "She was 5."
Oh my
But
goodness.
so we can have our houses so perfect that our own family's not comfortable, and
Right.
that's the other swing of the pendulum, right?
Yes.
So
Well,
there's a balance.
yes. So I have learned it is not my job. It cannot be my goal to live up to somebody else's dysfunction.
Absolutely. Oh, wow, say that again. That's so good.
It is, I have learned it cannot be my goal to live up to somebody else's dysfunction.
That's so good.
A perfect house is dysfunction,
Yeah.
because
Wow, you just
pe-
told me my life was dysfunctional. I didn't know. No, I totally knew. I totally knew.
if somebody's house is perfect,
They're hiding
there
something.
there is something going on.
Yeah.
And like you said, she had to control which, so we don't blame her,
No.
but we also know that that's not healthy either.
Right.
And so we have to be in this place where I always feel like, if I could have 5 minutes notice, I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
But if I can't, you're still welcome in.
Yeah.
And, and if somebody is expecting perfection out of you, that's a dysfunction on their part.
That's true. Yeah. And I do feel like you're right. If someone has come to my house, we do a Easter celebration at our house every Easter. There's 200 plus people that come. We do a baptism,
Wow.
we do a barbecue. My house gets trashed. We
Yes.
put in floors that can handle the mud, people
Yeah.
in and out. And honestly, I don't even clean till everyone leaves, because I used to have friends that would stay and try to clean up after. And I'm like, you know what? Then that sends a message to the people who stay till midnight. It's time to go. And
Yeah.
I'll follow through later. And I
Yeah.
don't keep a perfect house.
Right.
I want my bathrooms clean. I don't want it to be disgusting when they show up.
Right.
But yeah, I want, if my baseboards are clean, that's great. But you live in the country, the wood stove makes dust, the
Yeah.
dirt road makes dust.
Yes.
If you want to hang out with us, we would love it. And
Yeah.
honestly, I have 15 grandkids, and when they're here, I want them to know that Nana's not uptight that they spilled something, or that they broke
Right.
something, or that they left the toys out. Fingerprints on the windows. I will enjoy those for weeks later as I look at their little handprints on my window.
Yeah. What's going to make you comfortable in your own home and other people comfortable in your own home?
Yeah.
And it can be as simple as a pot of soup
Yes.
and some,
You froze up.
blankets on the couch.
Right.
Oh, sorry. The internet is a little choppy. I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, we all live in the country. We all get
I
it.
do.
Yes. But yeah, to just, what are a couple of things that are going to make people feel comfortable? One of the things we ended up doing is, because people are always like, oh, I want to take my shoes off. And I'm like, okay, our floors, even if they were just mopped, are not going to stay that way for very long. So finally what we did, Rhonda, is we bought probably 20 pairs of slippers in different sizes.
Nice.
And so everybody can come in, find a pair of slippers that's going to fit them,
Yes.
and use those. So we don't care, and we wash them every time, but it's just a way to make people feel comfortable and at home.
Yeah. So I know I've taken all of the time I promised you I would take. I could talk to you for another hour, or I could let you
I
talk
could
because I
as
sound like a
well,
bullfrog.
yes.
But what is some closing comments about Sabbath Soup, encouragement for my listeners as we are stumbling into the Christmas season, some
Yeah.
encouragement for them?
Yeah. So, when I wrote this book, it was really so that you could have Saturday night off, Sunday off, Sunday afternoon, and then leftovers for a few days, so that, it really took most of the cooking onus off of you for dinners. But even if you just get into the habit of saying, we are having soup after church, because one, it takes the decision making out of it.
Yeah.
And two, it's such a simple meal to prepare. It's so shareable. It's such a gift. So try it. I would just encourage you to try it, especially during this holiday season, to do something simple on Sundays, so you can save the razzmatazz for getting together with friends and things like that. But just a simple soup, maybe a loaf of bread, and what a gift it'll be to you throughout the season.
So I've also seen online that you've had soup groups, or whatever you're calling them.
Yes.
What are you
Yes.
calling those, where I've seen people gather around your book?
So it's a cookbook club.
Cookbook club.
And
I like soup group, but okay.
Soup group is great. I had never thought of that. But the cookbook club is like, everybody brings a dish from a cookbook, and you all get together and you try it and you say, this is the one we would eat again. Maybe not this, that kind of stuff. And so we have a free kit on, if you go to sabbathsoup.com, we have a free kit there for the cookbook club. And it's lots of fun.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to put that in the banner.
Yeah.
Sabbath
There you go.
And where can they find your book? Where can they follow you? Where can they learn all things from you?
Sabbathsoup.com. And, it's the easiest place to get it, and where it's on super sales of everybody and all that. It looks like it'll be on sale for a couple more weeks, is Amazon. So right now it's normally $26. Right now it's 17 something. So it's a good deal.
And it's a great Christmas gift for that person who has everything, for the new mom, for a baby shower gift, that's a great gift. And also just for having it on your own shelf for those times when you're like, I need to know. I love the final thing is, what if you just made Sunday after church soup day? and
Yeah.
you moved in that direction. How special that would be. Okay. And then we will somehow get to you, follow the show notes, and you will have a link to go to Sabbath Soup. And if you comment, let me know. I will send you Kathy's recipe for her turkey. What was it called?
Gumbo.
Turkey gumbo that is not in the book. So I'm
Yeah.
excited about that. Thanks so much for joining me, Kathy. You are a treasure. You are a gift. I enjoy you immensely. I think I met you in 2013 when my first book came out in San Jose. I went to an event. You and Cindy McMenamin were together.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
So
my
it's
goodness.
been over a decade that we have been friends, and
Well, I'm so
treasure you.
grateful. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for sharing this space with me today.
Thank you so much. And this will be in the audio tomorrow on Old Ladies Know Stuff. You can share it, subscribe, tell your friends. This is a great one that you can help people start off their new year in a Sabbath rest mode and not being so caught up in all the chaos. Thanks so much.
Thanks.